Willow is a 10-year-old girl with a weakened health. However, that is not her biggest problem. She also lives suspicious of her parents' strange behavior, Imogen and Noah. Today, they are going out for yet another one of their mysterious outings. Peeking through the window, Willow sees that they are taking a pig as well. As the animal's squeals echo through the house, the girl hurries to sneak out and cross a stretch of the woods, trying to find out where her parents are going. Her investigation is interrupted by her grandfather, Waylon. He asks her if she has forgotten the rules, and Willow replies that it's not dark yet. She is not allowed to be in that area at night. So, he takes her back to the house, which is a real fortress in the middle of nowhere, with no neighbors for miles around. As usual, Imogen returns from the outing alone. Waylon is waiting at the door, very upset. He tells her that he doesn't want to witness what is happening in that house anymore. Imogen looks very tired. Willow notices that she brought back her husband's clothes, except for the coat. She takes advantage of the tension between her family members to tiptoe down the stairs and listen to the conversation. Still irritated, Waylon asks what they will do when Willow discovers the truth. Firmly, Imogen replies that this will never happen. During dinner, the family tries to maintain normalcy. Willow doesn't have an appetite, and the adults have to insist that she eat a little. Suddenly, the sound of howling around the house scares the girl. Also worried, her grandfather goes to check if the animals are safe. Imogen says it's nothing, just foxes. After the meal, the girl plays with a wooden dollhouse that is a replica of her home. Pretending that one of the dolls is her father, she asks where he goes on these strange trips. Almost as an answer, she hears a series of groans coming from downstairs. She follows the sound to her parents' room, where a man who seems to be Noah is in deep distress. But when he turns abruptly, we realize that this was all just a nightmare of the girl. It is morning, and her father really is arriving. He has to be carried into the house, and his appearance is lamentable. Waylon comments that he is getting worse and worse, but Imogen refuses to talk about the problem and simply slams the door. Willow then resumes her domestic chores and goes to take care of the pigs. Once again, a strange sound piques her curiosity. She discovers that her mother is washing that heavy coat of her husband's, the only piece of clothing that stays with the owner on these occasions. She is practically hidden in a corner of the garden, probably so no one sees the water turning red. These incidents only heighten the girl's suspicions until she can no longer hold back. She asks her mother why Noah always comes home in that state. Taking out her anger on the dishes, Imogen does not respond and tells her daughter to feed the animals. Later, Willow hears her father crying in the bedroom. He says he has been getting much worse and laments that he is harming the family so much, but Imogen comforts him with sweet words. After she leaves, Willow tries to peek through the keyhole and comes face to face with an eye peeking back. The scare makes her decide to reinforce her own door with the toy horse at night, as a precaution. In the morning, Imogen invites her daughter for a walk. She even gets some coins from her grandfather to buy something. Looking at his son-in-law through the bedroom window, Waylon does not seem very pleased with the idea of being left alone with him. In contrast, Willow becomes calmer and more cheerful as she walks away from her own house. Halfway there, Imogen makes a stop and changes her farmer clothes for a dress that was hidden under the car seat. The girl praises her appearance, and she asks that this stay between the two of them. Trying to shake off the sadness, Imogen decides it's time for Willow to learn how to drive. Mother and daughter have fun on the road leading to the village. When they arrive, the two go to a clothing store and Willow also gets a floral dress. It is already getting dark when they return home. Noah is waiting for them, very anxious. He behaves as if they have just come back from a long trip, and not just a quick trip to town. There is a brief tension in the air when he learns about the gift. He furrows his brow and seems irritated, but apparently, it's just a joke. He even starts to imitate a wolf to make the girl laugh, and at that moment we realize that he acts as if Willow were still a much younger child. Then Noah hugs both of them and asks them not to leave him again. About a month later, Willow is playing in her room when her mother calls her. She can't get in because the toy horse is blocking the door, which seems to have become a habit. When Willow opens it, Imogen warns that she needs to go out, telling her that her favorite dish is in the oven, but she has to share with her grandfather. Ignoring the teasing, Willow asks where she is going, but her mother only replies that she will be back before it gets dark. Once again peeking through the window, Willow sees another pig being taken away. Imogen drives into the middle of the forest. Noah is wearing the same heavy winter coat. Neither of them realizes that their daughter is right behind them. She managed to escape her grandfather's supervision and is now hidden, watching. She sees her parents getting out of the car with the pig and follows them to a kind of secret dungeon, hidden in the heart of the woods. Inside, Imogen starts chaining Noah. The two seem accustomed to this procedure. Leaving the pig and her husband inside the cell, Imogen comes out with Noah's clothes in her arms. It's a full moon night, but the forest is very dense with little light, which helps to cover the little intruder. When Imogen notices her daughter's presence, she is already entering the dungeon. The mother's screams do not move her. Determined to discover the truth, she witnesses the early stages of her father's transformation into something inhuman. Imogen grabs the girl before the metamorphosis is complete and takes her home. The sight is too much for Willow, causing her to lose consciousness before they reach home. The recovery is slow, and her parents are too shaken to take care of her. Willow goes to her grandfather's house and stays under his care for a while. One day, she hears her parents' voices through the door. Imogen is arguing that the girl cannot stay locked up there forever. Waylon retorts that she has always been a prisoner. When Noah decides to remind him of his rights as a father, Waylon loses patience with him and the girl decides to leave before the argument goes too far. She agrees to go back home, albeit reluctantly. Remembering the time when the family was happier, she tears her new dress and bursts into tears. The window of her room remains her almost sole contact with the outside world. With few options, she continues to entertain herself with the wooden dollhouse deep into the night. Then the door begins to shake and she realizes that someone is trying to enter. She cannot hide before the intruder forces his way in. But to her relief, it's her grandfather who enters the room. Whispering, he says he came to get her and tells the girl to gather her things. They try to leave unnoticed, but Imogen wakes up and blocks the escape. When Noah appears, the situation spirals out of control. Waylon attacks his son-in-law and tells him he is a monster. Imogen freaks out with her father and throws him out of there, saying that the real monster is him. The next day, Noah invites his daughter for a walk. When she doesn't respond, the invitation quickly turns into an order. Willow has no choice. Noah drives to the edge of the forest and then they continue on foot. Speaking in her ear, he asks Willow if she really wants to know the secret. The two then enter the dungeon. The chains are still there. Noah says Waylon is a good man and begins talking about his own grandfather, William. They were never very close, but Noah heard stories about him. Despite his kind eyes, he also had a dark secret. Once a month, William had to go into the heart of the forest and stay away from his loved ones. Under the full moon, his body took the form of a terrifying creature. The pain was deep, but the worst part was having to hide the truth from his own family. He tried to quell his wife's suspicions for many years, until one day she decided to go after him. Unfortunately, she not only unmasked the monster but also became one of its victims. Horrified by what he had done, William returned home and ended it all. Now it's Noah who must live with the inherited curse. Crying, he admits that he doesn't leave because he is a coward. He should let his family be, but he cannot imagine life without them. Willow is touched by the confession and hugs her father affectionately. The two go back home and Imogen sings a lullaby to her daughter. Willow says she misses her grandfather and asks where he is, but her mother does not respond. A few days later, Noah is chopping firewood while his daughter keeps him company. She seems more comfortable near him now. When she asks to try the axe, Noah starts making jokes. He calls himself the King of the Woods and pretends to hold an official ceremony in which Willow must pledge allegiance to the forest and her family. She still flinches at her father's booming voice, not quite knowing where the line is between the character and the real man. But the little performance ends up being so much fun that she finally lets go, squealing with excitement. When she sits at the wheel and pretends to drive a racing car, it's the first time we see her acting like a happy child. During snack time, Noah even risks a bite joke. But unfortunately, this piece is about to end. Looking for the tea bottle in the car, Noah finds the dress that was hidden under the seat. His attitude changes completely. Enraged, he starts yelling at his daughter and drags her into the car. That night, the fight is so ugly that Willow doesn't even need to sneak around to hear. Imogen swears she hasn't met anyone, while Noah oscillates between insults and apologies. He says he only acts this way because he's afraid of coming home to find out she has left him. The argument ends when he forces his wife to say that nothing will change. Days later, Willow watches the preparations for her father's monthly night out. No longer having to hide the details, Imogen waves goodbye to the girl before leaving. In her room, Willow gets emotional when she sees her patched-up dress laid out on the bed. Sometime later, she insists on wearing it to celebrate her birthday. She receives a gift of a miniature set to complete her dollhouse. The atmosphere grows tense when there's a knock at the door. Waylon has also been invited to the party. Noah struggles to contain his rage and maintain civility. At least Waylon is bringing a much better gift, a dog. While Noah plays with Willow and her new friend, Imogen and Waylon exchange a few words, but it's clear they are still at odds. Before going to bed, Willow asks her mother if the family is safe. Imogen assures her that nothing bad will happen because she will never let anyone hurt her. She then seems to reflect on her own words for a moment, knowing that the situation might reach a point where she will have to choose between her devotion to her husband and the promise she just made. The following month, Willow no longer needs to spy. She uses the miniatures to enact what her parents are doing, as she already knows everything they do. As every time, they say goodbye, stating that nothing will change. Willow has a terrible nightmare in which her father's voice hypnotizes her, forcing her to break the miniature gate to let her father in. The dream ends when the transformation begins to occur within her. Willow wakes up scared and gasping for air. She has to knock over the oxygen tank to reach it. Once recovered, she goes downstairs to get a glass of water. The wind is very strong, and the noise sounds like someone shaking the gate. The impression is so vivid that she goes over and calls for her father. Waylon emerges just as she is starting to remove the locks. After quickly taking her inside and checking that the doors are secured tight, he says it's just the wind. Of course, no one is really convinced. Imogen brings the dog in to keep Willow company and closes the bedroom door before confronting Waylon. He admits that he is equipped to protect them, and Imogen accuses him of only coming back to get rid of his son-in-law. As always, Willow is listening to the entire conversation. Very agitated by the fight, she ends up fainting. The adults are startled by the thud and rush to help her. The oxygen tank is empty, so Imogen has to fetch another from the shed. In her haste, she accidentally knocks Waylon's gun to the ground. The gate keeps banging hard, as if it were receiving blows from the other side. In a sudden burst of fury, Imogen begins to shout at the possible intruder, while Waylon panics about his granddaughter's state. When Imogen returns to her daughter's room, a loud crash outside announces that the gate has given way and that, in fact, somehow, Noah transformed into a werewolf is now there. Determined to confront the danger even unarmed, Waylon orders the two to hide. He goes down the stairs and quickly heads to the front door, trying to hold it tight, but cannot prevent the invasion. The door is destroyed, Waylon is attacked and gets impaled by horns hanging on the wall, and then a haunting shadow can be seen moving through the house. Willow finally regains consciousness, and Imogen has to cover her mouth so that she doesn't scream. Heavy footsteps pass nearby and then fade away. Hearing the dog's whimpers, Imogen knows that the beast has found a victim and seizes the distraction to try to flee. The two move cautiously around the house, avoiding the sight of the bestial humanoid beast. They cannot even react when they see what has happened to Waylon. When they reach the car, Imogen asks her daughter to wait there and goes back to save him. The girl is breathing heavily as she tries to interpret the sounds from inside the house. Imogen and Waylon are now hiding in the basement. The intruder is very close, but cannot find them. Then, Imogen accidentally gets her hand caught in a mousetrap and cannot contain a scream. This causes the creature to find them and indeed hit the floor until it breaks through. The two scramble desperately toward the exit to the yard. The grate is very firm, but Willow has an idea. Using a hook to hold the grate, she uses the car to free the exit for the two. Waylon is in very bad shape and cannot move quickly. On top of that, the car refuses to start well at that moment, due to the bumps Willow gave it from not knowing how to drive properly. Then, the three are forced to flee on foot. However, Waylon knows he won't make it and once again decides to sacrifice himself, closing the gate behind the two. At that moment, the creature approaches, and only Waylon's screams can be heard. They run through the forest until Willow feels exhausted. After a pause, they continue walking cautiously. Imogen steps away for a moment to check if the section ahead is safe. When she looks back, she sees her daughter being grabbed and dragged away. In despair, she chases the creature until they are face to face, in the place where Noah was chained. Imogen sees the werewolf holding her daughter in its arms. Speaking calmly, Imogen asks him to put her down. She approaches slowly, saying that she loves him and that it's all right. He releases the daughter and lets Imogen embrace him. Everything suggests that the strategy is working, but eventually the monster prevails over the man. When he delivers the first blow to Imogen, Willow remembers her mother's promise to never let any harm come to her. so she resolves to do it herself to not lose her mother. With her oxygen and a fallen lantern, the girl improvises a flamethrower to face the beast, then sets her werewolf father's body on fire. Imogen manages to save herself, and the two watch the dramatic end of Noah. A few days later, life seems to have returned to normal. Mother and daughter are ready to start life away from that house. Seeing the past through Willow's eyes, we realize that her memories intertwine and there is no clear line between fantasy and reality. The memory of Noah's last moments shows that he always had a human form. And yet, he was always a monster.